Ethan Cole opened his eyes to a white ceiling and a soft beeping sound. His head felt heavy, like it was filled with wet sand. He blinked slowly, trying to understand where he was. The smell of clean sheets and medicine told him before his mind caught up. He was in a hospital. He tried to move his arm, but a small tube was taped to the back of his hand. A machine beside the bed blinked with quiet numbers. For a moment, panic rose in his chest. He did not remember how he got here. His last clear memory was driving home from work, tired, annoyed about a fight with his boss, and then nothing. Just darkness. He turned his head slowly to the side, and that is when he saw her. Sitting in the plastic chair beside his bed, with her knees pulled up and a thin hospital blanket wrapped around her shoulders, was Mia Bennett, his ex-girlfriend, the woman he had not spoken to in almost 8 months. Her hair was messy, tied back in a low bun that had mostly come undone. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying or simply had not slept. For a second, Ethan thought he was dreaming. Or maybe the medicine was making him see things. He blinked hard, but she was still there, real and quiet, watching him with an expression he could not quite read. Mia? His voice came out rough, like sandpaper. She sat up straight immediately, her eyes widening. Ethan, oh my God, you're awake. Her hand reached toward the call button on the wall, but she stopped herself and looked back at him first, as if she needed to see his face a little longer before calling anyone else in. What happened? He asked. Why am I here? Why are you here? Mia's lips pressed together. She looked like she was deciding how much to say. There was an accident, she said softly. Your car. Another driver ran a red light. You were unconscious when they brought you in. It's been 2 days, Ethan. 2 days. The words did not feel real. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his ribs, and he winced, falling back against the pillow. Don't move too fast, Mia said quickly, standing and gently placing a hand near his shoulder, not quite touching him. The doctor said you have 2 cracked ribs, a concussion, and some stitches on your leg. You're lucky. It could have been so much worse. Ethan stared at her, his mind still trying to catch up. 2 days unconscious. And somehow, his ex-girlfriend, the woman who had walked out of his apartment 8 months ago with tears in her eyes and anger in her voice, was sitting beside his hospital bed. Why are you here, Mia? He asked again, this time quieter, more careful. We haven't talked in months. You blocked my number. She looked down at her hands, twisting the edge of the blanket between her fingers. Your mom called me, she admitted. She still had my number saved from before. She was in Ohio. She couldn't get here right away because of the storm delaying flights. She didn't know who else to call who could come fast. I live 20 minutes from this hospital, Ethan. She just wanted someone here with you. That made sense, in a practical way. But something about the way Mia said it felt like there was more underneath the words. Ethan studied her face, the tiredness in her eyes, the way she kept glancing at the door like she was nervous someone might interrupt this moment. You could have left once someone else showed up, he said. Your job. Don't you have work? Mia let out a small, tired laugh, though there was no humor in it. I took time off, she said. I told them it was a family emergency. But we're not family anymore, Ethan said, and he immediately regretted how harsh it sounded. But it was true. Whatever they used to be, whatever promises they had made to each other once, all of that had ended 8 months ago in a loud argument about trust and time and things neither of them had been willing to fix. Mia flinched slightly at his words, but she did not argue. Instead, she sat back down in the chair, her eyes fixed on the floor. I know, she said quietly. I know we're not together anymore. I know I have no reason to be here. But when your mom called me, crying, telling me you were in the hospital and might not wake up for hours, maybe longer, I couldn't just sit at home and wait for updates like some stranger. I couldn't do that, Ethan. Not after everything. The room went quiet except for the steady beep of the heart monitor. Ethan watched her, unsure what to say. Part of him wanted to push her away, to remind her that she was the one who left, that she did not get to show up now and act like she still cared. But another part of him, a quieter part, felt something warm stir in his chest at the sight of her. How long have you been sitting there? He asked finally. Mia hesitated. Since they brought you in, she said. 2 days ago. Ethan's eyes widened. 2 days? Mia, you've been here the whole time? Sleeping in that chair? She shrugged, trying to make it seem small, unimportant. I went home once to shower and change clothes. But other than that, yes. I didn't want you to wake up alone in a strange room with nobody here. Ethan did not know what to feel. Anger, because she had left him once and broken his heart. Gratitude, because she had stayed by his side through the scariest hours of his life. Confusion, because none of this matched the version of Mia who had slammed the door and told him she never wanted to see him again. A nurse walked in just then, checking the monitors, asking Ethan questions about his pain level and his memory. Mia stepped back, giving them space, but she did not leave the room. She stood near the window, arms crossed, watching quietly as the nurse examined him. Once the nurse left, promising the doctor would come by soon, silence returned to the room. Ethan looked at Mia again, really looked at her, taking in the dark circles under her eyes, the wrinkled sweater she was wearing, clearly the same clothes from 2 days ago. "Thank you," he said finally, "for staying, even after everything." Mia's eyes filled with tears, and she quickly wiped them away with the back of her hand. "You don't have to thank me," she whispered. "I never really left, Ethan. Not completely. Even after I walked out that day, I never stopped caring about what happened to you." Ethan's heart tightened at her words. There was so much unsaid between them, so much pain from the past that had never been properly healed. But sitting there, injured and confused, staring at the woman who had stayed by his side through 2 long, frightening days, he realized something had shifted. Whatever anger he had carried for the past 8 months suddenly felt smaller, quieter, buried under the simple fact that she had not left him alone in his darkest moment. Outside the window, the sky was turning orange with the evening sun. Mia pulled her chair a little closer to the bed, and neither of them said anything for a while. But for the first time since he opened his eyes, Ethan did not feel alone in that hospital room. He felt, strangely, like something between them was not finished yet. Over the next few days, Ethan stayed in the hospital for observation. His ribs needed time to heal, and the doctors wanted to watch his head injury closely before letting him go home. Mia visited every single day. Sometimes she came in the morning with coffee for herself and juice for him, since he was not allowed caffeine yet. Sometimes she came in the evening, staying until the nurses gently reminded her that visiting hours were ending. Ethan noticed small things about her that he had almost forgotten during their months apart. The way she hummed quietly when she was nervous. The way she always brought an extra blanket because hospital rooms made her cold. The way she remembered exactly how he liked his eggs, soft and slightly runny, and brought him a container from a diner nearby, even though hospital food was all he was technically allowed. One afternoon, as sunlight poured through the window, Ethan finally asked the question that had been sitting heavy in his chest since he woke up. "Mia, can I ask you something honestly?" She looked up from the magazine she had been pretending to read. "Of course. Why did you really leave back then? I mean, I know what you said that night, about feeling alone, about me working too much and not making time for us. But was that really all of it?" Mia set the magazine down slowly, her fingers fidgeting with its edges. She was quiet for a long moment, as if choosing her words carefully. "It wasn't just about the work hours, Ethan," she said finally. "It was more than that. I felt like I was fighting to be a priority in your life, and I was tired of fighting. Every time I brought it up, you would promise things would change, and for a week or 2, they would. But then you'd get busy again, and I would go back to feeling invisible. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I was exhausted from trying to make you see me." Her honesty hit him harder than he expected. He had spent months telling himself that she left because she wanted something easier, someone less complicated. But hearing her explain it now, in this quiet hospital room, he understood the truth was far more painful and far more his own fault than he had let himself believe. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't realize how bad it had gotten for you. I was so focused on proving myself at work, on being successful, that I didn't notice I was losing the person who mattered most." Mia's eyes glistened, but she blinked the tears away. "I didn't come here to make you feel guilty," she said. "I came here because your mom needed someone, and because despite everything, I still care about you. That doesn't erase what happened between us." Ethan nodded slowly, absorbing her words. The conversation was difficult, but it felt necessary, like pulling out something that had been infected for too long. Later that evening, after Mia had gone home to sleep in her own bed for once, Ethan's mother, Linda, finally arrived at the hospital. She rushed into the room, tears streaming down her face, hugging her son carefully so she would not hurt his ribs. "I'm so sorry I couldn't get here sooner," she said, sitting beside his bed. "The storm delayed every flight out of Columbus." I was going out of my mind with worry. It's okay, Mom, Ethan said, squeezing her hand. Mia was here. She took care of everything. Linda's expression softened at the mention of Mia's name. She didn't hesitate for a second when I called her, Linda said. I felt terrible asking her, considering how things ended between you two, but she said yes before I even finished explaining what happened. She's a good person, Ethan. She always was. Ethan looked toward the door, half expecting Mia to walk back in, though he knew she had gone home for the night. I know, he said quietly. I think I forgot how good, somewhere along the way. The next morning, the doctor examining Ethan's ribs gave him promising news. His scans looked stable, and if everything continued improving, he could likely be discharged within the next 2 or 3 days. Ethan felt a wave of relief, though a strange, unexpected feeling of worry crept in alongside it. Once he left the hospital, would Mia still come around? Or would this brief reunion end the moment he no longer needed help? He decided to ask her directly when she arrived that afternoon, carrying a small bag of clean clothes for him since his own were torn from the accident. Mia, once I'm discharged, he started carefully, will I still see you? Or does this end when I walk out of here? Mia paused, setting the bag down on the chair. She looked at him for a long moment before answering. Honestly, Ethan, I don't know, she admitted. I came here because you needed someone, and I couldn't turn my back on that. But I don't know what happens after. I still remember why we broke up. Those feelings don't just disappear because I sat beside your hospital bed for a few days. Her honesty stung, but he respected it more than empty promises. I understand, he said. I just don't want to lose you again without at least trying to fix what went wrong. Mia sat down slowly, her eyes searching his face. Do you mean that? Or is this just the medicine and the fear talking? I mean it, Ethan said firmly. Lying here these past few days, realizing how close I came to not waking up at all, it made me think about everything I took for granted. You were at the top of that list, Mia. I let my job convince me that success mattered more than showing up for the people I loved. I was wrong. Tears slipped down Mia's cheeks, and this time she did not wipe them away. I wanted to hear that so badly for so long, she whispered. But I need to know it's not just something you're saying because you're scared and vulnerable right now. I understand if you need time, Ethan said gently. I'm not asking you to forget everything and jump back into what we had. I just don't want this to be the end of our story. I want a chance to show you I can change, really change, not just promise it. Mia reached out, and, for the first time since he woke up in that hospital bed, she took his hand fully in hers, lacing her fingers through his. Let's take it slow, she said softly. One day at a time. No promises about the future, just honesty, starting now. Ethan squeezed her hand gently, feeling a small spark of hope ignite in his chest for the first time in 8 long, lonely months. Outside the window, the sky was clear and blue, a quiet symbol of the fresh start neither of them had expected to find in a hospital room. 3 days later, Ethan was finally discharged from the hospital. His ribs were still sore, and the doctor told him to avoid heavy lifting for at least 6 weeks, but overall, he was healing well. Mia insisted on driving him home, refusing to let him call a cab or ask his mother, who had flown back to Ohio the previous day after making sure her son was safe. The drive to Ethan's apartment was quiet, filled with a comfortable kind of silence neither of them felt the need to fill with unnecessary words. When they arrived, Mia helped him inside, setting his bag down by the door and making sure the apartment was clean and stocked with groceries, something she had apparently done the day before while he was still in the hospital. You didn't have to do all this, Ethan said, looking around at the freshly cleaned kitchen and the fridge full of simple, healthy food. I wanted to, Mia replied simply. You need to rest, not worry about cooking or cleaning. Over the following weeks, Mia continued visiting regularly, though not every single day like she had during his hospital stay. She gave him space to heal, both physically and emotionally, while also making sure he never felt alone. They started talking more, really talking, about the things that had gone wrong between them and the things they both wanted moving forward. Ethan made real changes during this time. He spoke with his manager at work and negotiated more reasonable hours, explaining that his health and personal life needed to become priorities again. He started setting boundaries he had never set before, leaving the office on time instead of staying late out of habit or fear of falling behind. Mia noticed the changes, slowly but surely. She noticed how he texted her during the day just to check in, not out of obligation, but genuine care. She noticed how he asked about her job, her family, her feelings, remembering small details from their conversations instead of forgetting them like he used to. One evening, about 6 weeks after the accident, Mia came over for dinner. Ethan had cooked, something simple but made with care, pasta with fresh vegetables and a homemade sauce. They sat at his small kitchen table, candles flickering between them, and for a moment, it felt like old times, back when things between them were easy and full of laughter. "You've changed a lot these past few weeks," Mia said, twirling pasta around her fork. "I notice it, Ethan. The little things, mostly." "I meant what I said in the hospital," he replied. "I don't want to go back to how things were before. I don't want work to steal all my time and attention again. I want to build something real, something lasting, if you're willing to give me that chance." Mia set her fork down, studying his face carefully. "I've been scared to trust this," she admitted. "Scared that once things went back to normal, you'd fall back into old patterns. But watching you these past weeks, I think maybe you really have changed." "I have," Ethan said firmly. "Not because I almost died and panicked into becoming a different person overnight, but because that accident forced me to slow down and really look at my life. I realized the things I thought mattered most, promotions, work recognition, proving myself. None of that meant anything if I didn't have you, or my family, or real happiness in my life." Tears welled up in Mia's eyes, but this time, they were tears of hope rather than sadness. "I never stopped loving you, Ethan," she confessed. "Even after I left, even during those 8 months apart, some part of me never stopped hoping we would find our way back to each other." "I never stopped loving you either," Ethan said, reaching across the table to hold her hand. "Waking up in that hospital bed and seeing you there, after everything that happened between us, it felt like a sign. Like maybe we were given a second chance to get this right." Mia squeezed his hand gently, a soft smile spreading across her face. "I'd like that," she said. "A second chance, done properly this time. No rushing, no ignoring problems until they become too big to fix. Real effort from both of us." "Deal," Ethan said, smiling back at her, feeling lighter than he had in months. Over the next several months, Ethan and Mia slowly rebuilt their relationship, brick by brick, conversation by conversation. They attended couples counseling together, something Ethan had once been too proud to consider, but now understood the value of learning healthier ways to communicate and support each other. They set clear boundaries around work and personal time, making sure neither of them fell back into old, harmful patterns. Ethan's accident, as terrifying and painful as it had been, ended up becoming an unexpected turning point in both their lives. It forced him to confront the parts of himself he had been avoiding, the workaholic tendencies, the fear of vulnerability, the habit of taking the people he loved for granted. It also gave Mia the closure she needed, showing her that Ethan was capable of real change, not just empty promises made in moments of fear. A year later, on the anniversary of the accident, Ethan surprised Mia with a small, quiet dinner at the same restaurant where they had gone on their very first date years earlier. As they sat across from each other, laughing about how strange life could be, Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Mia's eyes widened, tears immediately filling them, as Ethan got down on one knee beside their table. "A year ago, I woke up in a hospital bed, scared and confused, and the first thing I saw was you," Ethan said, his voice trembling slightly with emotion. "You told me you never left my side, and honestly, Mia, I don't want you to ever leave my side again. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving that love to you every single day. Will you marry me?" Mia, crying and laughing at the same time, nodded eagerly. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, absolutely yes." As Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, surrounded by the quiet hum of the restaurant and the soft glow of candlelight, both of them understood that sometimes the most painful moments in life lead to the most beautiful beginnings. What started as a terrifying accident and a hospital room reunion had blossomed into a second chance neither of them had expected, but both of them were endlessly grateful to have received.